Hi and welcome to Priori Digital Studio tutorial. In this video, I will show you how to set up and use your small business cash flow in the most efficient way. In this video, I'm using Google Sheets, but the Excel version is exactly the same. First thing, we protect most of the cells where there are formulas to make sure that you don't erase any important formulas that could impact the spreadsheet. So if you see this message, it means you're not supposed to touch this cell. But don't worry, I will show you step by step how to prepare your spreadsheet. If by mistake you see this message, you can simply click on the X and you will be fine. Moreover, we established a color code to show you which cell can be edited and which one cannot. So basically, you can only edit the cells that have a white background. Another warning, please do not move a cell from one place to another. If you do move a cell, it could generate an issue by messing up the automation of the spreadsheet. The best way to avoid these errors is simply to copy and paste your data. So as you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, there's a navigation menu that lists all the tabs for easy access. The tabs are grouped into clear sections to help you navigate effortlessly. We start with the setup section. That's where we are right now. Next is the log section where you'll input all your data. Then comes the dashboard section. And after that, you'll find what is likely the most interesting part of the spreadsheet, the forecast tab. And finally, as a bonus, there's a balance sheet tab at the end. This layout is designed to keep things simple, intuitive, and efficient for your workflow. So to jump from one tab to another, you can simply move over your mouse over the tab that you want to go. And then as you can see, there's a link appearing. You simply have to click on it. And as you can see, you will jump right into the income tracker. If you want to go back, you can simply do the same thing. If you want to hide the menu, you can also click on the minus sign here. And as you can see, this is the only time where you can see this message and click on OK. As you can see here, the navigation menu disappeared. If you want to see it again, simply click on the X on OK and it will reappear. The first tab you'll be working with is the Setup tab. This is where you'll enter all the essential information to get your spreadsheet up and running. So step 1, enter your currency symbol. You simply have to type in your currency symbol or the 3 letters of your currency. In step 2, choose the starting date for your spreadsheet. So if you are using Google Sheets and you want to enter a date, you can simply double click on the cell and as you can see, a small calendar will appear. You can then simply select the date and click on it. If you are using Excel, however, unfortunately this feature does not exist, so you will have to type in your date. Step 3, input the general tax rate for your location. Don't worry, you'll be able to apply different tax rates to specific transactions later, which is especially useful if you sell online. Step 4, list all the income and expense categories you think you'll need. You can create up to 100 categories for each, and if you want to view the hidden rows from 25 to 100, you can simply click on the plus symbol on the left to expand them. You can always add more later if needed. And then finally, in step 5, set up your monthly and annual profit goals. This setup process helps tailor the spreadsheet to your business needs right from the start. And at the top of the spreadsheet, as you can see, you have steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you click on it, you will basically jump to the specific step, just like with the menu on the left. Now let's explore the bank accounts tab. This is where you can keep track of all your cash, bank accounts, credit cards balance. To get started, enter your cash starting balance at the top. Next, list all your bank accounts, select the account type from the drop-down menu, and enter each account starting balance. All gray cells are automatically calculated, so there's no need to manually input any data there. These will be filled in based on information from the rest of the spreadsheet. There's also a column for adjustments in case you need to make any manual corrections. To help reconcile your books, there's a column where you can note the last time you verified your bank account balances and bookkeeping. In Google Sheets, like I said before, simply double-click on the cell to see the small calendar. If you are in Excel, you'll simply have to type in the date manually. For credit cards, follow the same process, but note that there's no account types to select. The initial balance should reflect your credit card balance at the start of your fiscal year or at the moment you begin using this spreadsheet. If you scroll down, you'll find a section to log transfer between your accounts. Here's how it works. Enter the date, the account you're transferring from, the account receiving the funds, and don't forget to input the actual amount. This section is especially useful for logging internal transfers, cash withdrawals, and credit card payments, helping ensure everything stays balanced and traceable. So let's do an example together and see how this tab works. So I will enter some information from a bank account here. So as you see, RBC, this is a checking account, and the starting balance is $5,000. Then we will scroll down to the transfer between accounts to see how this will affect our bank account. So as I said earlier, simply select a date, a bank account from which the money is from, and then to which account. We send it to our RBC account that we just created. And then I simply wrote the amount, which is 5,000. Since we had the starting balance of 5,000, a total deposit of 5,000, now our current balance is $10,000. Now let's explore the log section. This section includes an income and expense tab to enter all your variable transactions, enter mileage, and also add recurring income and expense with the recurring and payment tab. To start, let's have a look at the income tab. This tab, along with the expense tab, is one of the most important parts of the spreadsheet as it tracks all your incoming transactions. It's very intuitive to use, so start by entering the date of the transaction. Then add an invoice number for reference. This is totally optional, but very useful when you do your accounting. Use the drop-down menu to select the appropriate income category you defined earlier in the Setup tab. Then enter the net amount. The sales tax column is calculated automatically based on the rate you entered in the Setup tab. However, this cell isn't locked, so you can easily adjust the amount if needed. If your customer paid for shipping, you'll find a dedicated column for that. There's also a field for other fees, such as tips if you're in a restaurant business, for example. The total column is shaded in gray, meaning it's fully automated, so you do not need to enter anything there. Next, use the drop-down menu to select the account that receives the money. You can also add a description or a note in the designated column if needed. On the far left side of the table, you'll see a checkbox column. This is used to confirm that you've actually received the payment. If you're paid up front, tick the box immediately when entering the data. If you send invoices, wait until you receive the payment to tick it. Very important, if the checkbox isn't selected, the payment won't be reflected in your bank account balance. Once your data is entered, scroll to the right and you'll find a very similar version of the table. By default, it shows the same information, but you can filter and sort this section however you like, which is especially helpful when reviewing income by category or dates. So let's take an example together to see how the filter feature works. So let's first use the paid not paid feature and select the not paid, which is represented by the X. Then let's use the income category to filter our category. In my case, I will select the event ticket sale. And as you can see here, we see that we only have 3 transactions that fits this filter, which is not paid and event ticket sales. If we want to see all our transactions again, simply select the information you selected using the drop-down menu, click on delete, and do this for all the filter. And as you can see, all our information reappears. So let's take another example and use the sorting option. Let's sort by net amount and then by descending order. As you can see, all the data will move around, just like that. Again, if you want to delete this filter, simply do the same process, select it and click on delete. Now let's take a look at the expense tab. This tab works almost exactly like the income tab, so make sure to enter each transaction in the correct place. The expense tab is also a transaction tracker and one of the core components of the spreadsheet alongside the income tab. So here's how it works. Start by entering the date of the transaction, add an invoice number for a reference if applicable, use the drop-down menu to select the appropriate expense category previously defined in the Setup tab, and then enter the net amount. The sales tax amount is automatically calculated based on the rate entered in the Setup tab, but you can manually adjust it if needed, since the cell is not locked. If you had to pay shipping fees, there's a dedicated column for that. There's also a column for other fees not subject to tax, like a tip at a restaurant. Just like in the income tab, the total column is shaded in gray to indicate that it's automatically calculated, so there's no need to enter any data here. Next, select the account from which the expense was paid using the drop-down menu. You can also add a description or a note for additional context. On the far left side of the table, you'll notice a checkbox column. This helps track whether the expense has been paid. If the payment was made upfront or in a store, you can check the box right away. If the payment is due later, for example, 15 days after receiving the invoice, tick the box once the payment has been made. These checkboxes are essential to accurately update your bank account balances as they represent when money actually leaves your account. Once all your data is entered, scroll to the right and you'll see a duplicate of the table. So this filter feature works exactly like the income tab. So if you have any questions or concerns, simply go back to the income tab and you'll see a very detailed explanation. Now let's take a look at the mileage tab. To get started, you'll first need to set up the tab using the green table located at the top left. So in step 1, configure your mileage settings. Choose your unit or measurement, kilometers or miles. You can enter up to 5 different mileage rates. For example, if you're starting your bookkeeping in 2024 and the mileage reimbursement rate was 0.655 per mile, simply enter the rate. Set the start date, for example, January 1st, 2024, and then set the end date, for example, December 31st, 2024. If the rate changes in 2025, you can add a new entry without affecting the data from 2024. This lets you maintain accurate records years over year. We also set up mileage setup warnings. So there are 2 types of warning that may appear. Inverted date range. So if the start date is later than the end date, a warning message will appear below the table and both date cells will be highlighted in yellow. Then we have the overlapping date ranges. If 2 dates ranges overlap, you'll see a warning message and the affected dates will be highlighted in red. If either of these warnings appear, make sure to correct the dates. Errors here can impact your bookkeeping and account balances. Then in step 2, simply log your mileage. Once the setup is complete, you can start logging your mileage in the table below. First, enter the date of your trip, add the number of kilometers or miles traveled. The reimbursement amount will be automatically calculated based on the applicable rate and date. Use the drop-down to select the account to reimbursement is linked to. You also have some space for notes or a description. So after entering your data, scroll to the right just like in the Income and Expense tab. You'll find a mirrored table that allows you to filter and sort your entries. This makes it easy to review and analyze your mileage records over time. So this filter works exactly the same as the Income and Expense tab, so it's quite easy to use and you can refer to these tabs to have more details. Now let's take a look at the Recurring Transactions tab. This tab is designed to help you manage all your recurring income and expense transactions throughout the year. These are typically transactions that repeat on a regular basis, such as weekly or monthly payments. Instead of entering them manually each time, you can lock them once in this tab and they'll be automatically included in your tracking. This tab is divided into 2 main tables, income transactions on the left and expense transactions on the right. Since both tables work similarly, we'll focus on the income side for this explanation. So how to use the income table? Select an income category from the drop-down menu. This list is automatically populated based on the categories you define in the Setup tab. Choose the payment frequency, for example, weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly, depending on how often this transaction occurs. Then enter the net amount. The sales tax is calculated automatically based on the setup settings, but you can adjust it manually if needed. Enter any additional charges, such as shipping fees or other income types like tips. The total amount columns is fully automated and will update accordingly. Set the transaction period, enter the start date of the first payment. This is typically when you begin using this spreadsheet. Optionally, enter an end date if the transaction will stop at a certain point. Select the receiving account. Use the drop-down menu to choose the account where the income will be deposited. How to use the expense table. The expense table works the same way with one key difference. Instead of selecting the receiving account, you'll choose the account from which the money will be withdrawn, the account provenance. This tab is especially useful for subscriptions, rent, recurring salaries, or regular service fees, anything that happens on a predictable schedule. By setting it up here, you'll save time and ensure consistency in your bookkeeping. So let's take an example together and enter a recurring expense. So our website is hosted and we need to pay it monthly. So we simply use the drop-down menu to find our expense subcategory. Again, use the drop-down menu to find the monthly frequency, so every month. And then our net amount is $20. The sales tax is totally automated, as you can see here. We do not have any shipping fees or other fees, so we leave it blank, or we could write 0. And then let's say the first payment is today. So we are using Google Sheets, so we have the small calendar, but a small reminder. If you are on Excel, you will have to type in this date. We don't have any end date yet because we want to keep our website, and our account provenance is the RBC account that we set up earlier in another explanation. So that's it. As you can see, entering recurring transaction, either income or expense, is very simple and will save you a lot of time. So now let's take a look at the payment tab. This tab provides a chronological summary of your recurring transactions only, and it does not include any variable transaction entered in the income or expense tabs. Important note, this tab is not protected in order to let you use the filters easily. So be careful not to delete or overwrite any formulas, only make changes in the designated white cells. So how to use this tab? You'll see a list of your recurring payments automatically sorted by date. If you need to make a change, for example, to the amount, date, or account provenance, simply update the white columns in the right-hand side of the table. If the details looks correct, no further action is needed. Once a payment has been made, simply tick the box under the paid column on the left to mark it as complete. This tab includes 5 main filters at the top, so you can display only the data you want to see. For example, if you want to view only income-related transactions, simply use the category filter and select income. As you can see here, all the data was filtered and we only see our income. If you want to remove this filter, it's the same principle. Simply select all 4 and click on OK. All the data will reappear. If you have a lot of data in your spreadsheet, this might take a few seconds. So let's take another example together and find the recurring transaction for the web hosting that we just entered in the recurring tab. So we can find this transaction in 2 ways, either using the filter just like we did a few seconds ago, or simply scroll down. Since the date is on June 7th, it's easy to simply scroll down. So as you can see here, we can find our example, which was website hosting on June 7th at a cost of $20. And since this is a recurring transaction, let's find the same transaction, but for the month of July. So if we keep scrolling, we will find our transaction close to here. As you can see here, again, on July 7th, we can find website hosting also at a cost of $20. So now let's explore the dashboard section where you will be able to visualize all your data. So let's first start with the monthly calendar tab. To begin, simply enter the year and select the month you'd like to view. You can also customize the start date of the week to match your preference. Once it's done, the calendar will display your variable and recurring income, expenses, and mileage. Incomes are highlighted in green, expenses in pink, and mileage are in orange. So once they are paid, your transaction will appear in gray and strike through with a check mark in front. You could also select the view only paid transactions, not paid ones, or all of them. You also have checkboxes to be able to visualize whether or not your income, expenses, or mileage. You also have space for notes if needed. And if more than 7 transactions are in the same day, a warning will appear at the bottom of that specific day. With this setup, staying on top of your monthly payments becomes simple and intuitive. You can also print this calendar if you want to have a paper version. So all the instructions to print the calendar in a lot of details are included on our written instruction included in your order. There's also an instruction if you are in Google Sheets or in Excel because it's slightly different. Now let's take a look at the monthly dashboard tab. To start, select the year and month you want to visualize. Simply type in the year and use the drop-down menu to choose the month. Next, use the drop-down menus just below to select the data you want to display in the income table, the green table, and the expense table in pink. You can choose from the following data types: net amount, tax, shipping, other fees, and total amount. Once selected, the table will auto-populate with the corresponding data. This lets you focus on the specific matrix most relevant to your analysis. Note that the View drop-down menu only affects these two tables, not the rest of the dashboard. If you want to view the rows 25 to 100, simply click on the plus button and they'll become visible. At the top of the page, you'll see 6 key monthly metrics: final net income, total expenses, total tax collected, total income, profit or loss, as well as profit margin. Just below, 2 pie charts break down your total income and total expenses for the month. On the left-hand side, you can track your progress toward your monthly goal. And then further down, you'll find 3 bar charts comparing your income and expense across the total amount, net amount, and taxes. This tab provides a complete view of your monthly business performance, helping you make informed decisions with all key data at your fingertips. Now let's take a look at the quarterly dashboard tab. This tab offers the same features as the monthly tab but focuses on a period of 3 consecutive months. To begin, select the starting year and starting month. For example, if you choose April, the dashboard will display the data from April, May, and June. Just like in the monthly tab, you can use the drop-down menus to select the data you want to visualize in the income and expense tables. Aside from these 3 inputs field, the rest of the dashboard is fully automated. So what's different from the monthly tab? The layout, as you can see, is a little bit different. We have first the income, and then if you scroll down, the expenses details. Each table includes a total row for the entire 3 months period. You can compare your actual profit versus your profit goal. Additional bar charts display your net income, total expenses, and profit. And on the side, you'll find charts that break down your total income and expenses, along with monthly breakdowns for each. Again, if you want to view rows 25 to 100, simply click on the plus button and the row will expand. One of the most valuable features is the cash flow section at the bottom of the page. It provides a snapshot of your financial situation, including the net income, the sales tax collected, shipping, and other fees received. These values are added together to calculate your final net income. On the expense side, it includes net expenses, sales tax paid, shipping and other fees paid, as well as mileage costs. These make up your final total expense. The difference between these 2 bold totals give you your actual profit as well as your profit margin. You'll also find a blue summary table showing your monthly progress, your cumulative goal versus actual progress. And finally, the last table summarizes your sales tax collected, sales tax paid, and the net difference. This makes your quarterly dashboard especially useful if you report or pay taxes on a quarterly basis. Now let's take a look at the annual dashboard tab. This tab is very similar to the quarterly tab and the features are exactly the same. So the only cells you can modify are the starting year and the month, and the top view drop-down menu. This dashboard displays your data over a 12-month period, giving you a clear annual overview of your business performance. Now let's take a look at the 5-year dashboard tab. This tab functions very similarly to the annual tab with the same features and layout. The only editable fields are the starting year, the starting month, and the view drop-down menus. This dashboard displays your data over a 5-year period, which each year's data clearly separated for easy comparison and analysis. Now let's take a look at the custom dashboard. This tab works very similarly to the monthly tab with the same features and layout. As before, the only editable fields are the starting date, the end date, and the view drop-down menu. The main difference is that here you choose the exact time interval you want to analyze. To do this, if you are using Google Sheet, double-click on the start date. Again, if you are using Excel, simply type in the date and select the beginning of your period. Then select the end date for your analysis. This flexibility allows you to review your performance over a few weeks, several months, or any custom ranges that suits your needs. Now let's take a look at the Comparison Dashboard tab. This tab is very similar to the Quarterly tab with identical features and functionality. As with the other dashboard, the only editable cells are the starting year, starting month, as well as the view drop-down menu. The key difference here is that you can define 3 separate date ranges and compare them side by side. So to set your period, first choose the start date and select when you want the comparison to begin. Then choose the end date for each of the 3 periods. Under the name column, you can give each date range a custom label to better interpret your results. This feature is especially useful for comparing things like Black Friday or Christmas sales in the same year or Black Friday performance across multiple years. Now let's take a look at the Tax Tracker tab. In this tab, you can easily track all your sales taxes collected and paid. The data is organized over a 12-month period, so the first step is to select your start date. At the top of the page, you'll find a summary showing total sales tax collected, total sales tax paid, and the net difference between the two. Just below, there's a visual chart displaying these figures month by month across the selected 12-month period. Under the chart, you'll find the same information presented in a table format showing the actual dollar values for each month. Now let's explore the forecast section, which consists of a single but powerful tab. This is definitely the most insightful part of this spreadsheet. So start by selecting the period you'd like to base your forecast on. Options range from the previous month to the last 12 months. The spreadsheet is designed to guide you automatically by recommending the best option based on the data you've already entered in the income, expense, mileage, and payment tabs. The table below is fully automated and dynamically updates according to your selection. It displays a breakdown of both your recurring and variable income and expenses. So just beneath, you'll find a monthly summary of your profit or loss along with the bank account balance at the end of each month. Green highlights indicate a positive balance, while red highlights signal a negative one, making it easy to understand your financial outlook at a glance. So let's take an example together and change the range for our historical data. So here we have 9 months. Let's jump to the 3 months data. So as you can see here, our graph changed as well as the table, and we can see that we only looked at data from March, April, and May. So the spreadsheet is smart enough to know which month we are currently. As you can see here, we are in June. So that's why the historical data from 3 months ago are March, April, and May. If we were in July, it would be April, May, and June. As you can see, we also have some key metrics for your business, for example, your growth, based on the historical data. This is, of course, totally automated. Perfect. At this stage, we've gathered your historical data and calculated your monthly growth for each category. Now it's time to forecast your bookkeeping and see whether your finances are likely to stay in the positive or dip into the negative over the next 12 months. To start, choose how you'd like to calculate your annual growth, either based on your own custom percentages or automatically using historical growth. If you select historical growth, no additional input is needed. Everything will be calculated for you in the tables below. For example, on the right-hand side, you'll see 2 charts, one showing your forecast income, expenses, and profit, and another displaying your projected bank account balance. Below these charts, you'll find a detailed breakdown of all forecasted figures, including monthly income, expenses, profit, and bank balance. If you're anticipating major changes like landing a large contract or hiring a new employee, these events won't be reflected in your historical data. In this case, you can manually input these additional income or expenses entries in the white rows provided at the bottom of the table. If you need more rows, simply click on the plus button on the left side of the spreadsheet to add them. Finally, on the left side of the chart, you'll find two key summary cells, one for your profit forecast and another for your bank balance. These analytics will notify you if you're projected to go negative with a warning or stay positive with a congratulating message. So as you can see here, a few seconds ago, we entered a new contract in our forecast. That's why in the graph, you see a little jump in July. However, for the rest of the year, as you can see based on the red line, the profit is going into the negative because our total expense in pink are higher than our total income, which means that, of course, your bank account balance will decrease as well. So as you can see in the forecasted bank account balance chart, even though you have a negative profit and your bank account is going down, you still have money in your bank account. That's why your forecasted bank account balance is still in the positive. So as you can see in the profit and bank account little square, we also summarize all this information for a better comprehension. Now let's switch to the first option and select the desired growth instead of historical growth. When you do this, the small table just below will turn white, allowing you to manually enter your desired annual growth percentage for each income and expense category. Once you've entered your growth rates, the rest of the spreadsheet will function exactly the same, using your custom values to generate all forecasts and analytics. A quick tip: if you choose to base the forecast on only 1 month of historical data, the calculated growth will default to 0. In this case, forecasting based on historical growth may not be accurate, so entering your desired growth is the more reliable option. Now let's take a look at the balance sheet tab. This tab isn't directly linked to the others as the category it uses differs slightly. However, you can still create a complete balance sheet using this template. To get started, enter your start date by typing the year and select the month. This should reflect the beginning of your fiscal year. If you're unsure about the difference between a calendar year and a fiscal year, there's a small reference table at the top of the tab. In short, your fiscal year is a 12-month period used to calculate your company's profit and determine the income tax owed to the government. You typically define your fiscal year when you incorporate your company. Below this table, you'll find the section where you can build your balance sheet over a 5-year period. Start by entering your asset, which are divided into current asset, fixed or long-term assets, and other assets. Next, define your liabilities, also categorized as current liabilities and long-term liabilities, as well as other liabilities. Finally, complete the owner's equity section. Remember, your total assets should always equal the sum of your liabilities and owner's equity. A dedicated row is included to help you verify your balance. Just below that, there's a table that automatically calculates your financial ratios. So that's it. I hope this tutorial helps you easily set up your spreadsheet. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions or concerns. Follow Priori Digital Studio on YouTube for sneak peeks on our new templates.